Hey everybody, my name is Bionano from thestocksnews.com, and today I want to talk about Bionano Genomics Stock, ticker symbol BNGO, and how we have dropped nearly 40% in about 6 months. So right off the bat, you'll notice that there is no FaceTime today, and that is because I am on a road trip. So we are going in straight into Google, and we can see right now, here's a 6-month view, and in 6 months we are down about 40%. Of course, this is a pretty volatile stock in general. We can see periods of massive tops here. But when we look down at the news of Bionano Genomics, we can see that there's not a lot of recent news going on with Bionano here. We can see that the recent news is mainly focused around Bionano's Sapphire system here, and that is for good reason. Bionano appears to be a single product business, as we can see from their website here. So just quickly, so that we're all on the same page here as to what Bionano and Sapphire actually is. Bionano is a company that is focused on being able to identify changes in our chromosomes. A quick science lesson so that I can actually say I used my master's degree in biochemistry at some point. All cells in our body, except for red blood cells, have your genetic code, your genes, wrapped up into these things that we call chromosomes. This genetic code, wrapped up in a chromosome, tells your cells what to do and when to do it. When there are mistakes in your genetic code, which normally occurs when the genes are duplicating before the cells split, these errors in the genetic code will sometimes change the shape of the chromosome, as shown in this diagram here from Bionano. These changes in the shape of the chromosome can be detected by the Sapphire system developed by Bionano, and that is why Bionano is exciting to some investors. Genomics will be a big part of the future with the rise of CRISPR technology, which basically gives people the power and scientists the power to alter the genetic code. If I remember correctly from my boring biology classes, hemophilia A, a bleeding disorder where a person's blood basically can't clot, is actually caused by a chromosome inversion mutation here. Imagine the day where we can actually go into the genetic code and fix this issue for hemophilia A patients. Actually, you don't have to imagine at all. It's happening right now in hospitals around the country. But as cool as this is getting away from the main point of the video here, which is about Bionano Genomics Stock. The main point I'm trying to make here is that genetics and genetic editing will be a huge field for growth in the future. Companies who are making gene editing medicines are probably using the CRISPR-Cas9 framework, and they will need lab instruments like Sapphire to test their experiments. And honestly, for me, yes, sales of the Sapphire system are important, but the reason why Sapphire is important is, to me, most important. The reason why Sapphire sales are important is because Sapphire is the way into these companies for Bionano. Bionano's business is like selling printers. Sapphire is the printer, and anybody who owns a printer knows what you really spend the most money on is the ink cartridges. So Sapphire may not be making money just on the printer, but it will also be making a continual revenue stream from these ink cartridges, these consumable cartridges that lab analysts need to use the Sapphire instrument. So these reasons may be why Bionano may be interesting to some investors, because of this source of recurring, predictable revenue after the initial sale of the Sapphire system. Also remember that the macro story of Bionano will likely continue to be good, as revolutions of gene editing and genomics will continue. So after talking about the macro story of Bionano Genomics, now let's head on over to the earnings report to see how Bionano is doing as a business. So here we are in Bionano Genomics earnings report, and looking always here first at the top line revenues, we can see the top line revenues for the most recent quarter ending on June 30th, 2021, which is this column here, is growing nicely, pretty fantastically actually, to about $3.8 million compared to last year when we were only making around $1.1 million. And this is definitely growth that I want to see in the companies that I'm looking at. I want to dig into these numbers here for a little bit by looking at the detailed view, which these subsections here. And when we dig in here a little bit at the product revenue, which is the sale of our Sapphire system, we see that adoption is growing by more than 2 times year over year. And because of that, if we look at our services and other revenues here, because we have our foot in the door by selling more Sapphire systems, we now have the opportunity to sell more services on that Sapphire system. So because of that, look at that fantastic growth year over year in the services and other revenue section. This is what I'm talking about when I say Bionano Genomics is a printer-like business. With more printers, obviously you're going to sell more cartridges, and that's obviously what is happening here. This growth should be paid closely attention to, because if Sapphire continues to sell, then our services on that system will continue to grow as well. Unfortunately, I think this is where the good news ends for Bionano Genomics here, as with most of the heavy retail investor interested stocks, because now we have to look at cost of revenues here, which is this line on the earnings report, and we can see the explosion in cost of revenues year over year, and that's not what I like to see at all. And we can see shrinking profit margins year over year. We can see here that last year's profit margins was about 48% for the 3-month period. However, for the most current 3-month period from 2021, we can see that our profit margins has shrunk to about 37%, and that is a teeny tiny bit concerning. This to me is telling me that there may be some new inefficiencies with the business, and that's not something that I like to see in a company. I want companies to be as efficient as possible, and it looks like Bionano may be slipping a little bit, but that may be due to the explosion in services revenues that we saw up here, which could have lower margins than the actual Sapphire sales. The next thing I want to talk about here is the operating expenses, which is this block on the earnings report here. We can see that total operating expenses are growing amazingly year over year, more than doubling. And that's, again, not quite something I want to see in the companies that I'm looking at. Yes, we are more than tripling our top line revenues here, so there is growth to justify this doubling of expenses. But again, to me, this is a little bit concerning that we may be spending too much if we are doubling our expenses year over year. So at the end of the day, our math here comes out to be a loss from operations year over year, and that is accelerating loss from operations. Again, not something I quite want to see in the businesses that I'm looking at. To me, what I want to see is actually a profit from operations, which means that we actually make money from operating our business, or at least a stabilization of the net loss. And because we are more than doubling our net loss from operations here, what that's telling me is that Bionano may not be at the stabilization of the net loss from operations phase. So that, again, is a little bit concerning to me. The very last thing I want to talk about in the earnings report is share dilution. If we go all the way down here and look at the weighted average of common shares outstanding, basic and diluted, this tells you the amount of shares in circulation. And we can see that year over year, we are exploding the amount of shares in circulation. We went from 90 million shares last year to 278 million shares this year. That is about a tripling of the amount of shares in circulation, which is definitely not good for shareholders at all. If someone wants to invest in a stock like Bionano Genomics, they need to heavily consider the extra cost of share dilution before investing. So with all that said, now let's head on over to Bionano's stock charts to see if there's a level or two to buy Bionano Genomics if we want to buy Bionano Genomics. So here we are in Bionano Genomics stock charts here, and we can see what a fall from our all-time highs back here in late February. First things first, the first support level that I'm seeing is about where we at right now, around the $5.50 to $5.75 level, made from the bottoms of these candles over here, the bottoms of these candles over here, these candles over here, and the strong turnaround candle from this candle over here. To me, it looks like the stock is consolidating and forming a base. Because of this, I think this is a good thing if an investor wanted to begin stepping into Bionano. Consolidation periods are times when investors have time to think about getting into a name like Bionano, and is also a time where we can see the equilibrium between buyers and sellers. This consolidation is good if you are a less risky investor. However, if you are a momentum investor, this is definitely not what you want to see. For momentum investors, they want to see huge candles like we saw back during the all-time highs back in February and in March. The reason why you want to see large candles like this is because the volatility provides opportunities for trading. It provides opportunities to buy at the lows of the candles over here and sell up at the tops of the candles to make some quick cash. However, in periods of consolidation like the one that we are in, there is no volatility. So we are kind of stuck in the mud here until another push of momentum comes in to introduce volatility into the name. The risk for momentum investors, and honestly the risk for Bionano stock, because it is a momentum name, is that the momentum never comes. So if the momentum never comes, then we may be stuck in the small range. But with that said, I do think that this is a decent level to begin stepping in because, as I said before, this does look like a support level to me. I think that the nearest resistance level that we could reach, again, is this one. It's around the $7.60s to the $8.20s here, which again is made from the tops of these candles and the tops of these candles over here. By my math, that's about a 40%-ish upside. And the closest support level, if we do break this $5.50 to $5.75 support level, could be down here to the bottoms of these candles over here to the 530s level, which is about a 13-ish% downside. However, if we do get a broad market correction, we could break down to this level down here that we saw back in May, below $5 to the mid $4 level. If we do go back down here, there is about a 20 to 25%-ish downside from where we are right now. So risk reward to me, considering that the trading range is between 430 to the upper 7s or the 8s, is like a 4-to-1 or a 2-to-1 payoff here. So Bionano does look appealing for a trade. But again, Bionano does carry a lot of risk here. There is no momentum at the stock in the moment, so we could be flatlining here for a long time. But there are definitely other types of risk in Bionano as well. Investors need to firstly believe in the macro story of the genomic revolution, and they also need to believe that companies will adopt Bionano's main product of the Sapphire system. I do have high conviction for the genomic revolution, but to me there is still a little uncertainty about the adoption of the main product, the Sapphire system. The fundamentals of the company also leave quite a bit to be desired in my opinion. Even though we are seeing good growth in revenues, I want to see a re-increasing profit margin, decelerating net loss, and at the very least a stabilization or minimal share dilution. Investors should carefully consider the fundamental risks of Bionano, even though the trading odds do appear to be in favor for short-term long traders.